Hi, everybody. It's Lynn Hayes here. I want to welcome you back to my channel. I hope you're doing well this week. I am here with a report on what's coming up with the planets this week, starting April 6, 2020. So before we start talking about this week, I just want to recap a little bit over the past few months. Planetary energies have been very heavy. There have been lots of planets. There have been between 3 and 6 planets in Capricorn over the last year. Capricorn is a sign of achievement and success and hard work, but it also has to do with contraction and restriction. And so under that Capricorn influence, we've seen a lot of compression in our world. It was competing last year in 2019 with Jupiter and Sagittarius, very expansive energies. And then in December, when Jupiter went into Capricorn, everything started to cave in a little bit. And of course, that coincides with when this virus started to come about. And I did a whole video yesterday about that, so I'll link that in the description box. So for now, let's look forward. This week, there's only 2 planets in Capricorn now, just Jupiter and Pluto. Saturn moved into Aquarius last week, and Mars also has moved into Aquarius. So Aquarius has a much different feel than Capricorn, where Capricorn is sort of heavy and solid, and we have to do what we have to do. Aquarius is more innovative and excited and, what's new? How are we going to do things differently? So the energies have shifted a little bit, which I think is going to make the current situation much easier. And I believe that we'll start to see kind of a turnaround on some of the bad news that we have had. The only caveat, well, there's a few caveats to that. One is that Pluto turns retrograde later this month, and we have a summer. So between April and I can't remember when it ends, but throughout the summer, we'll have between 1 and 6 planets retrograde. So when 6 planets are retrograde, that's a lot of retrogrades. When there's a lot of retrograde energy, we sort of feel like we keep trying to make something happen. We can't get anything to move forward. So this is global. It's happening for everybody. Now this may be easier for people that have a lot of retrogrades in their chart. They're kind of used to living that way. That's how it is with Mercury retrograde. When people have Mercury retrograde in their chart, often it's easier for them when Mercury is retrograde. But in any case, let's get back to now. So we are going to see some sort of easing up of this energy now. Mars is in Aquarius, where it is sort of driven towards innovation. It's driven to finding new solutions to problems. Mars in Aquarius is fiercely independent too. So with Mars in Aquarius, it's no wonder that there's so many people around the world that they don't want to stay home. They don't want to do what they're told. They want to do what they want to do. Mars at Aquarius is the rebel. And we're certainly seeing a lot of that. And it's not being helped by the fact that Mercury, the planet of communication, is in Pisces, which is the sign. It's a wonderfully beautiful, creative, imaginative sign, but it's also fuzzy in terms of communication. Mercury in Pisces isn't clear. There's no clear instructions. It's one thing one day, another thing another day. Nobody believes anything. So this is going to change, looking at my notes, April 11th, when Mercury leaves Pisces for Aries. Then I think we're going to start to see much more clear direction. But back to this week, the Mars is going to make a challenging square to Uranus. And this is going to really exacerbate the sort of rebelliousness that we're seeing. And in our personal lives, it's likely to also affect us in terms of maybe just really needing to do something different. If you've been home for 3 weeks, sitting in your apartment or your house, you're probably going to go a little stir crazy. And that's probably starting now, because this aspect culminates tomorrow. And so it's been building for a couple of days. So just watch for that. Take some time to do something that you're going to that will help you to blow off some of this steam, because otherwise it could it's like a pressure cooker when the pressure builds up and then you press that little release thing. So you want to watch for that. That's going to be important. So the Libra full moon encapsulates all of these things. It encapsulates the conjunction of Jupiter to Pluto that we just passed. I believe that was the 4th, if I'm not mistaken. And now it's waning. That influence is waning. It will return in June. The conjunction of Jupiter to Pluto is a little bit on the heavy side. Jupiter is very expansive. It creates a lot of confidence, and that can be really useful when it's aligned with Pluto in terms of having our goal, like meeting our goals. If this happens in our personal chart, we can be very goal directed. Jupiter has to do with our highest ideals, and Pluto empowers us. But Pluto can also be very destructive. And so much of this kind of depends on what's happening in our personal world and in the global world. And so this conjunction of Jupiter to Pluto this last week has been very intense, especially since there's been so much compression. And, when you're looking at the news and you're seeing people, locked in their apartments in Spain and Italy, and the police are out to make sure they stay there, that's very Plutonian, especially with Pluto in Capricorn, the sign of social structures. So anyway, this is starting to release now. So, over the next couple of days, try to do something for yourself that's going to help to release some of this pressure. The full moon tomorrow, full moons carry a lot of energy. They're the peak of the lunar cycle. This full moon is a super moon. This term was coined by astrologer Richard Noley. Now it's in all the news outlets, but I always like to give him credit. The term supermoon refers to a full moon or a new moon that occurs when the moon is closest to Earth. So it appears big in the sky. That's the moon that rises. It just takes up, a lot of our vision, a lot of our sight. And so the effect of that full moon can also be fairly strong, especially if you're sensitive to lunar events. I've noticed people that have planets in the sign of Cancer are often very sensitive to lunar events. And this one is going to be big because it's a supermoon. It also encapsulates the square of Mars to Uranus, so there's this sort of rebelliousness. And with the full moon in Libra, the moon is opposite the sun, which is in Aries. All full moons, of course, have polarities. So you have the Libra moon on the one side, which is striving for balance and equanimity and harmony and love and beautiful aesthetics and very refined. Then you have Aries, which is coarser and more direct and more aggressive and more assertive. And so finding that balance is what we always are looking for with the full moon. And because Mars is so powerful right now in Aquarius, squaring Uranus, the Aries part, the Aries side has a little bit of an edge on Libra. So under this full moon, which takes place on the 7th, we're going to need to balance the assertiveness, the need for some explosive action to express that pressure of Mars and the Sun in Aries, and balance that against something that's going to help us to feel harmonious. Do some yoga, do some Tai Chi, do some sort of meditation, go for a walk. Even if you're locked in your apartment, go for a walk in a circle and pretend you're in a labyrinth. We can always find something. So after the full moon, we have some very lovely aspects of Mercury. And Mercury in Pisces is not clear necessarily in terms of communication, but it's very creative and imaginative. And it's going to be harmonizing in a sextile to both Jupiter and Pluto. So that's really good for helping us to assimilate the information that we need in order to move forward. It's really good for creativity also. Um, and then on the 8th, which will really start to pick up on the 6th and the 7th, Mars begins to align in a harmonious sextile to Chiron. Chiron is a little planet. It has to do with wounding and healing. And when Mercury or when Mars harmonizes with Chiron, there can be a release of that stress and anxiety. So that's, let's say, really between today, I'm recording this on April 6th, and the 9th or so. This is a really good time to just let some of that anxiety go. The planets can create an environment for things to happen, but if we hold on and we don't let go, the planets won't make that happen. So we're going to have to relax, and then this planetary energy can help us to let go of the stress enough so that even if we're in an acute emergency, we'll be able to have the insight and the wisdom and the understanding to be able to create a path forward, which is what's really important. The moon will move from Libra to Scorpio, I believe on the 9th of April. And that's going to re-intensify things. Scorpio's very passionate. It's ruled by Mars traditionally, so Scorpio has that intense passion and emotion, um, embracing of a real need to know the truth. So I love Scorpio. I know a lot of people don't, but I have a lot of Scorpio. And so for me, it's really a driving force. Like, what's really true? What's really effective now? While the moon is in Scorpio, it's going to be further intensified by an opposition to Uranus and a square to Mars. So it's going to translate, we call it, that aspect between Mars and Uranus again, because it sort of brings them together with the moon. So just watch for this period between April 8th and the 10th. Could be intense emotionally. So just know that that's happening. On the 10th, later in the 10th, Eastern time, you have to adjust for your own time, the moons will be moving into Sagittarius. And then that's going to lighten the mood. It's going to make it easier to feel expansive, hopeful, optimistic. Then on the 11th, as I said before, Mercury will move into Aries. We are likely to feel the sky sort of clear at that point, like, aha, this is what's happening. I know what I want to do. Here's the path forward. I'm just going to take it, because that's what happens when Mercury is in Aries, which it will be for about 3 weeks. And then on the 12th, the moon moves into Capricorn, lines up with the South Node. The South Node represents the past. When the moon is transiting the South Node, sometimes we can just have feelings that just come up that trigger some kind of past karma, so that it can be released. Maybe an understanding of something that's been confusing, or maybe even a person, somebody from your past just calling you, that helps you to let go of something that was holding you back so that you can move forward. So, some tough things and some not so tough things, but that's kind of life these days and always. So I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please subscribe. I do plan to continue this YouTube channel thanks to the support that you all have been giving me. This channel is for you, so if there's anything that you want covered, questions, please let me know in the comments. And thanks again so much, and I hope you all have a great week.